Hello, my name is Charles Tullis, and I'd like to share with you my theories on what's wrong with this world and how we can fix it. Now, there's a lot of problems in this world, and if we analyze the history of society and its problems, I think we'll realize that it comes down to the same problems all the time in many different governments, many different countries. One of my theories is that people do not properly interact, that authorities and common people are in different classes and they're respected differently. Actually, there's a lot of fear from the people or in the people to their authorities. Always was. Because there was always injustice, always cruel treatment and disrespect. And I think a lot of it comes from an injustice, and a lot of it comes from the fact that the authorities and the rich and the prosperous do not know enough about injustice and how hard it is to live in a society that injustices you, and how hard it is to be poor. I think the biggest problem in this country and in others is improper interaction. Because of the lack of education in our authority about poverty and injustice and its cause and effect, and how poverty and injustice hurts people's lives, makes their progress so slow and pushes them down the ladder of success. It doesn't help them. But the authorities don't realize enough of their own mistake making. They're too brainwashed in their own theories that they made themselves about what life is about, what society is about, what people are about, and how people should be treated. I think the fact that the authorities never interacted properly with the poor or injustice caused those people more problems than they should have had. Proper authorities should make sure that people are treated fair. And in order to make sure they're treated fair, you should talk to them properly. What happens today, prevalently, is people complaining of one kind of injustice or another, and authorities in complaint bureaus or politicians, whoever, but authorities, they don't understand enough about injustice, and they've been brainwashed too much into the justifications of injustice. So and also they're like warlike. They've changed from being educated, properly interacting authorities, the way in some eras they were more prevalently, were trying to gain an education and interacting with the people more properly. But they don't do it as much today. And I think because the mentality of injustice is so irrational that authorities can no longer focus on a moral and ethical code that they should be focused on, because they already broke a lot of morals and ethics and disrespected people's rights and did a lot of things that they shouldn't have done to people. But in order for the authority to learn that they're wrong about the injustices that these protesters and injustice victims and poor people are complaining about, they need to interact with these people properly, with a full respect. You know, America was supposed to be where we're all created equal. Well, in that manner of thinking, it's what morally and ethically should be done when they talk with people. Respect them as equals. Because they might not have the same education or feel the same on topics doesn't mean that they don't have wisdom or that they're not right. A lot of people who protest and are injustice and complain about it, they're right. Things have to change. And they will never change fast enough if the authorities don't listen to the protesters and the injustice victims and the poor with a full respect. And that means when they interact with these people, not to contradict them and interrupt them and get angry and upset too much because of the fact that you're not supposed to interact with your people that way. You're never going to learn the full theories on what these people feel and grasp their wisdom and understand your own mistakes. You know, what we should have is protesters and injustice victims and the poor on TV telling their story a lot without talk show hosts and guests interrupting them and contradicting them to the point where they can't get out their theories. There is a big lack of education of what poverty and injustice is about in this country. And we need to get a retroactive education into these authorities and these powerful people who think they're authorities, but they're not. If they were authorities, they'd be totally gung-ho to stop all the injustices all across the board in this country. And they'd be gung-ho with the poor, the injustice, and the protesters, because they'd realize that these people do know what they're talking about.